everyone, it is Jaden and welcome back to the Spilled Coffee Studio channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For today's video, I thought I would bring you all along with me as I worked on 19 different digital illustrations, each one being based off of a song from the Outsiders Broadway album. This is an idea I've had for a while, and it went through a couple of changes. It was originally supposed to have been done traditionally, then I scrapped that idea, but yeah. I thought I would just bring you all along with me as I worked on them. So let's get to it. Alright, so to kind of get myself prepped for doing these drawings, I started by doing the 4x6 canvas on Procreate before inserting a picture of my sketch that I had done traditionally before lowering the opacity and then just getting to work. Now, these drawings or these illustrations were originally supposed to have been done traditionally. However, I realized since there are 19 songs, that's a lot of canvases, even if they are little canvases. And then I also thought it would be nice just to do it digitally, just because for some of them, with all of them, there's text and stuff, and I just kind of like it to be a lot nicer and neater. But anyways, as you can see, I already went ahead and did Tulsa 67, and now we are on to Grease Gotta Hold. And don't worry, at the end of this video, I'll be showing each piece individually. I just kind of decided to go through all of the drawing part before getting to that. And all of this is incredibly sped up because if it was not, we would quite literally be here all day. And I don't think you all would want to sit through that. I don't even think I would want to sit through watching that, because sometimes it would just take me so long because I would be doing something as little as slightly changing a color to see what kind of difference that made, or changing the text to see how this particular one would look compared to the first one I chose. So doing this was just a lot quicker. But anyways, and then also, like I said, 19 songs, that's a lot. So this will also help speed along the process by doing a time lapse. But as you can see, after finishing Grease Gotta Hold, I got into Runs in the Family, which this piece I kind of wanted to look a little bit like a cross stitch that you would kind of have hanging on your wall, maybe something a family member had done. So I kind of did little X's. You would see me filling that in. And then next was Great Expectations, which I just kind of made a book on a desk. You know, one of my main goals for doing these drawings or illustrations, whatever you want to call them, was for them to not be I don't want to say overly detailed. If you know the style of something a graphic design, something like that, that's kind of what I was going for. However, I don't know a single thing about graphic design, so I was doing more digital illustration for it. Even though I was heavily inspired by different artists on Instagram, I'll actually put some of my inspirations right here on the screen. And this will be their Instagram handles, just because I just really like their work, and it's also really great to look at. Anyways, when this particular video is being uploaded, I will have just finished my very first week of the spring semester. I'm currently taking 5 classes this semester, with 4 of them being studios, which is definitely very intense because studios can be a lot of work, and they're also 2.5-hour classes, and then most of the professors expect you to do at least 5 hours of work outside of class. So it's definitely a lot, but I'd like to graduate on time. But if I end up having to take one extra semester, I'm not too upset about that. I'll just have to deal with it because, what else can I do? I thought, because I've kind of made myself a little note about what classes I need to get done, and hopefully I'll be able to do summer classes, but I'm not 100% sure what will be available. Because I remember when I looked last semester, a lot of them were study abroad, which was really unfortunate because, I wanted to be able to do a class and get it over with over the summer. But oh well. The 4 studio classes I'm taking this semester are metals and jewelry, which I am incredibly intimidated by because that is not something I work with at all. I've only had that class once, and we are already starting on our first project, which is making a bracelet. And then I have painting or advanced painting, which I've done that's just any basic kind of painting class. It's like the one I did last semester, where it's like 2 paintings at a time and then one final painting. So that's nothing new to me. I'm then doing ceramics, which this is hand building ceramics, so I'm not going to be using the wheel because I was intimidated by using the wheel. And also, I feel like I would enjoy like hand building a bit more. We've already started practicing making pinch pots just because we were like our first project is going to be doing like making some sort of like form using that kind of technique. So we were practicing that. And then I also started working on like learning how to wedge clay because I've never done that before. And I've learned that I am incredibly bad at it and I really need to practice. I feel like I'm not strong enough to do it because like you have to kind of like press down like with pretty much like your full body weight, and I can't do it. So I'll have to like go back in and practice. And then the final studio class I'm taking is screen printing, which I am incredibly excited for. I've always wanted to try screen printing, so I'm very excited that I get to, try it out. And also, I like all of my professors so far. Only one of them is like familiar to me, my painting professor, but I really like my screen printing professor. She's very funny. And then the final class that I'm taking that is not a studio is an art history class, and it's about romanticism and enlightenment. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes, like twice a week. So it's not like, it's kind of a class that's a bit broken up, which is nice because my last art history class was like a full 2.5 hours, which while that was only once a week, it could be a lot at one time. And I'm pretty interested in this one so far. The one thing that makes me so nervous about this class is that he'll just like randomly point at you to call on you. And that stresses me out. Even though he was like, and it was only about like, he would show us paintings on like our first day of class. And he would just be like, "What do you see?" And he was like, "There's no wrong answers." And, like what I see or how I interpret something, might be different from somebody else. And technically, nobody's is, wrong in how they see or feel about a work of art. But it still made me really nervous. But hopefully this semester will be a good semester. I know that we're going to be doing an exhibition in like my painting class towards like the end of the spring semester, which is very exciting. I know that this semester there will also kind of be I'm pretty sure they only do it in the spring. Well, yeah, I know they only do it in the spring because they didn't do it last semester. But like a student like juried show, so I want to submit some artwork for that whenever the time comes around because I didn't do it last spring semester, which was my first semester here at JMU. But yeah, I am hoping for a great year. But anyways, how have you all been doing? Decided to give you all a little update since school has started for me. I don't know about you all, but where I live, it has been ridiculously cold. I don't really remember it ever being this cold. I know it's so bad because of the Arctic, I can't think of the name for it. I'll put it on the screen. But because of that, but it was absurd. Like I have to pretty much every single day I have like a class that starts at either 8 a.m. or 8:20. And it is so cold. Like the other day when I left, it was like 1 degrees and I was like, this is horrible. Like if you live somewhere where that's kind of like a regular, like not a strange occurrence at all, and it's something you're used to, I like really commend you for being able to deal with that kind of weather because I do like winter, I do enjoy it, but like that was like a bit too much for me. However, we have had snow, which I do really enjoy, but now it's kind of all like melted and become like a lot of ice, which definitely isn't fun. And it's also, snow once it first falls, it's very pretty when it's all like clean and undisturbed, but now it's like everywhere and it's all like dirty and gross looking, so it's not as nice as it used to be. Also, another little update, this can be my like little life update video as y'all watch me do these drawings. But I have, so my last video, the Batman one, when I recorded that voiceover, I said I was teaching a class and it was my first one and it went well. So I've been teaching a couple more. I taught one class for kids, like a kids painting class, and then I did 2 other ones and they went pretty well. And then we also did an event at like a kind of like a fancy like bed and breakfast like in my town where it was like a big paint your partner thing. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this like little job so far. It's it's definitely something that gets me out of my comfort zone. And I still do struggle a little bit because one of my biggest things with it is I struggle a lot with not like wanting to disturb people as they're working and like they're concentrated, but at the same time it's really awkward if it's like quiet, especially like I taught a class the other day and there was only 2 people, and so it was very quiet as opposed to like my first class that I taught, which had 12 people, and a lot of them like knew one another, so they were all talking. It was very lively. So I kind of need to work on that. But other than that, it's been pretty well. Like I said, I quite enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's something that's like totally different for me. So it's great. I never thought I would really be like teaching people how to make stuff. I do like my little videos on here, but they're not really tutorials. I'm just kind of yapping as I like make stuff. And I've kind of like helped family make stuff, but never, it's different when you're teaching other people, or at least in person, because again, like sometimes I've kind of explained what I'm doing, but I don't see you all, so I'm not intimidated by people like watching me as I do it. But yeah, also another update that's not really important, but I wanted to share. If you all have seen my video where I was painting like the book box with like the stand, like the cover of it looks like The Stand by Stephen King, and I mentioned wanting to read Misery. I finally started it. I'm over like halfway through. I think I have maybe around like 100 pages left, and I am really enjoying it. This is an absolutely like crazy story, and I don't know what I would do if I was in like the situation that Paul was in. Right now, if you've ever read the book, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but I assume it might be similar. I'm at the part where Annie has kind of had her big breakdown and she's left to go to the laughing house, and Paul is left in her home, and he had found her book, like her memory book, full of all of the things that she has done. That is where I'm at right about now. And I know that kind of once I'm finished like filming this voiceover, I'm going to pick up that book and I am going to read like crazy. I'm really enjoying it so far. This is the second book that I've started. Well, actually, that's a lie. This is the third book I've started this year. I already finished one, which was We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix, which I was unfortunately kind of disappointed by. I read another Grady Hendrix book. It's pretty popular, I think, a couple of years ago. It was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And let me tell you, I loved that book. It was just so, like, I don't want to use the word fun, like, to describe it, but I don't know. I think it was also, I don't know, I just really liked it. Just the characters were interesting. The way, like, Grady Hendrix, like, interpreted, like, a vampire character, because it had, like, some basics of, like, typical vampires you would see in media, but there was also some stuff about them that was, like, really different. So I really enjoyed it. And I thought I would really like We Sold Our Souls because it's about basically a rock band, and like the lead singer pretty much sold everybody's souls to the devil so that he could become rich and famous. So he's high above all of them and they've pretty much been left in the dust. And one of the characters, who I can't even remember her name now, she was she played guitar for the band. She is on a mission to get her soul back. And I thought I would really enjoy it because, it had, like, again, like, the rock or, like, the heavy metal. You all know I love stuff like that. But I just didn't like it, and I was unfortunately pretty disappointed. I'd still like to try reading some of his other books. I know I really want to read the Southern Book Club's or not that one. Obviously, I've already read that one. I literally talked about it. But the Final Girl Support Group, I want to read that one. That one sounds pretty interesting, and maybe My Best Friend's Exorcism. But yeah, I'm not sure what I want to read after I finish Misery. I'll either get a book from the library or kind of look through my stash and see what I'm interested in possibly reading. The second book that I started that I ended up not finishing, I believe it was called Moon of the Crusted Snow, something like that. If that's not right, I'll put it on the screen. And the premise was really interesting, but I think the only thing that I couldn't get myself to read it was that it was like an ebook through like the Libby app, and for whatever reason I just couldn't get myself to read as I was read it. So I think maybe if I had the physical book I would be a lot more interested in it. I just don't think the ebooks are for me. There's just something so like satisfying about having like the physical book in your hand, and you can see like how much you've read, and flipping back and forth with the pages. I don't know. So maybe I'll try that book again, but I'll just have to get the physical version. Anyways, we are coming to the end of the sketching portion before I'll get into talking about each individual piece. And as you can see, I've kind of revisited every single drawing just to add a couple of like little details and stuff to all of them, stuff that I thought they needed, like shading or other little stuff. But anyways, let's get on to talking about each piece. Alright, so first up is Tulsa 67. The side on the left represents the Socs, and the side on the right represents the Greasers, with the train tracks going down the middle, which is referenced in the song. Next up is Grease Got a Hold, and I just kind of wanted this particular drawing to look like a vintage ad. For Runs in the Family, I wanted to make it look like a cross stitch that is hanging on the wall, and to accomplish that, I did little X's for all of the individual letters and designs around the frame. Great Expectations is pretty much just the book laying on Ponyboy's desk, and then the homework, or like the little page that's in the corner that has Ponyboy's name, the words that are written on it are actually lyrics from the song. For Friday at the Drive-In, it was actually a very, very simple drawing. I just kind of made it look like an old movie theater sign, and then also added the movie that was being played as Cool Hand Luke, which is also mentioned in the song. I Could Talk to You All Night kind of shows the side profiles of both Ponyboy and Cherry, and I tried to kind of make the style of both of them be something along the line of like Archie's comics. However, I'm not sure how well I successfully did that. For Runs in the Family Reprise, I took that same original drawing that I had done for Runs in the Family and then had it on the floor like it had fallen off, then also had the glass cracked and some of it laying on the floor, just to kind of like show like the conflict that had happened between both Ponyboy and Derry. For the Far Away from Tulsa drawing, I kind of made it look like a little postcard that features the house that both Ponyboy and Johnny sing about. So for this drawing for Run Run Brother, this is actually different than the original idea I had. At first, I wanted to show both Ponyboy and Johnny on the train. However, I ended up changing my mind and instead had kind of like both of their footprints going up towards the church. Even though this drawing is nowhere near perfect, it is probably my favorite out of them all. So for Justice for Tulsa, I decided to show the fountain from when Johnny stabs Bob, and then had the words Justice for Tulsa on the crime scene tape. Death's at My Door is a song that I kind of really struggled with coming up with an idea, and I eventually just landed on doing a keyhole of a door. Not super creative, and maybe I'll come back to the song when I have a better idea. Throwing in the Towel was another song that I kind of struggled with, and I ended up doing a TV with throwing in the towel on the front, which kind of represents how Darius sings about like Soda watching cartoons. And that's kind of like what really inspired this particular piece. Soda's letter was definitely the easiest piece to come up with an idea. I literally just drew a piece of notebook paper, wrote out the entire lyrics of the song on said piece of notebook paper, and that was about it. For Hoods Turned Heroes, I pretty much recreated the newspaper that was used in the movie of The Outsiders, like even down to like the little bit of text that says like delinquent youths turn heroes. And then in the corner, it's a Budweiser bottle because Two-Bit sings about being hungover when he first sees the newspaper. Hopeless War is a song that I pretty much had like zero ideas for, and I was kind of just looking for inspiration on Pinterest, and I came across some pretty cool designs of matchboxes. So that's kind of what I ended up doing. But again, this might be another drawing that I'll end up revisiting just because I'm not 100% satisfied. I don't think it's a horrible drawing, but I don't know how much it makes sense with the song, you know? For Trouble, I kind of had the legs of everybody kind of walking to the rumble at the top with Trouble underneath. I really wanted their shadows that they are casting to spell out the word trouble, which really looked better in like my head, you know, as I kind of imagined it. But in reality, it ended up looking pretty bad, so I did have to kind of change that up a little bit. But I don't think the end product is horrible. For Little Brother, this is another one that kind of ended up changing. I was also originally for this one going to do something related to trains. However, I ended up changing my mind and instead kind of made it a little tombstone, which is definitely a little like dark and kind of depressing, but I also felt like I meant it fit pretty well with like the lyrics and kind of like the meaning of the song. For Stay Gold, I ended up kind of copying one of my own designs. If you've seen it before, I made a vinyl sticker that looks like a stamp based off of Stay Gold, and I pretty much recreated that for this illustration, just changing up a couple of minor details. Alright, and now we have made it to the final song, which was Finale or Tulsa 67. I pretty much took the very first drawing, and then instead of doing two separated sides, I kind of did all of the little sections, different shades of gold, and then I did a little bit of readjusting for like the title and added a quote from both the beginning and the very end of the book, and also the musical, with the kind of iconic "when I stepped out from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind, Paul Newman and a ride home" quote. But anyways, that is the end of this video. I really hope you all enjoyed just kind of watching me in the time lapse of drawing all of these different illustrations and then also talking about each one a little bit. But anyways, I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day, and yeah, bye!